Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira will be co-main eventing the UFC 291 card this weekend, and this matchup has quite a bit of high stakes in it and is a very interesting matchup on paper. We have Alex Pereira, who's a very good stand-up fighter with a lot of power, moving up to 205 after cutting a lot of weight to 185. So we'll see him there. And then you'll have Jan Blachowicz, who is a former light heavyweight champion, who is now 40 years old, but has a distinct wrestling advantage in this matchup. And it's going to be all at altitude. So it's a very, very interesting matchup. And the stakes of this matchup will likely be whoever wins this matchup will likely fight Jiri Prochazka for the vacant light heavyweight championship, as Jamal Hill has vacated it. So super interesting matchup here. I'm going to give you a little bit of a more in-depth breakdown than what I did on my YouTube video for the full card prediction breakdowns. If you haven't seen it, check that one out. But going into the breakdown of Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira, Jan Blachowicz coming off a draw against Magomed Ankalaev in a split draw. People had a guess going either way. I thought the draw was a good scorecard at that point. People thought Magomed Ankalaev won, and honestly, the scorecard could have been Ankalaev win or a draw for Jan Blachowicz, so I'm fine with either way, but that one was supposed to be for the vacant light heavyweight title when Jiri vacated the belt, but it ended up being a draw, so it's just a very unfortunate situation, so they had to make Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira. Before then, Alexander Rakic, he did beat, I guess, Rakic did hurt his knee. I think it was a torn ACL or something like that. Rakic hasn't fought since, and that was about a year ago. So it was a very rough injury for him. Both of these fights were just not super certain in general, so you couldn't really take much out of him. I guess he did really good early on against Ankalaev, and he did decent against Rakic. So, but there's still like, I don't know. The Magomed Ankalaev fight wasn't as much of a statement. He did good early on, but I mean, it literally could have gone to Ankalaev in that fight. So nothing too confident here out of Jan Blachowicz, but before then lost to Glover Teixeira by rear naked choke by losing his belt. An old Glover Teixeira, which was not good to see from a Jan Blachowicz in that matchup. Beat Israel Adesanya by decision about 2 years ago, and then beat Dominic Reyes by KO. Alex Pereira coming off a loss to Israel Adesanya, lost that fight by KO, got flatlined out cold only 3 months ago. So he is taking this fight relatively soon. Is fighting a big power puncher in Jan Blachowicz, so that is a little bit worrying there. Did beat Israel Adesanya by standing TKO. Beat Sean Strickland by a left hook, pretty much put him out cold in the first round. Beat Bruno Silva by decision. A pretty interesting fight there. It was a very back and forth fight, a very entertaining one to watch. And then beat Andreas Michailidis by flying knee KO. So you have the Jan Blachowicz factor where he has the wrestling. This is up a division also, so Alex Pereira is going to be fighting guys that are a little bit bigger builds than the guys in 185. And 185, there's some really big dudes like Urkastas and stuff. Like, he never fought those guys, but Jan Blachowicz is a very, very big dude. My only worry for Jan Blachowicz, I guess there isn't an only worry, there's a little bit of some worries, is that he's 40 years old, and this is going to be at altitude, and the way I can see him winning this fight, and a lot of people do see him winning this fight, is out wrestling Alex Pereira. And how much will the wrestling at altitude affect Jan Blachowicz in this matchup? I think Alex Pereira using his stand-up game, expecting Jan Blachowicz to go for takedowns, especially at the old age of Jan Blachowicz, isn't going to be a fast speed as he would normally be at 205. So I think Alex Pereira will be ready for the takedowns, and now some may say, like, because of the takedown threat, it may affect Alex Pereira. I don't think it will. I think Alex Pereira has been training his takedown defense quite a bit. I think he's probably been working on it like a pretty decent time now. He does train with Glover Teixeira, so he is working with some good guys in the grappling, especially for 205. Glover Teixeira beat Jan Blachowicz, and he was an old guy beating him. So Alex Pereira is training with some really big dudes, but in this matchup, I can see Alex Pereira, the weight. So Jan Blachowicz does a really good job at checking kicks and a really good job defensively. I think he did it a couple times against Rakic. Rakic has some killer leg kicks. Like, they aren't as technical as like an Izzy or an Alex Pereira, but they are some really, really like crazy leg kicks. If you've seen some videos, like, look it up if you got the chance. Like, he puts it all into his leg kicks, and he checked a couple kicks there, and eventually I think a check kick might have hurt Alexander Rakic's knee and caused it to get injured. You're not really certain, at least, especially with those kind of injuries. But Alex Pereira has like a certain stance where he hides the leg kicks really well, and Israel Adesanya was able to land some really good leg kicks on Jan Blachowicz in their matchup, and I think Alex Pereira can do the same here. Alex Pereira will have a little bit more power. I think the difference here, if you are looking at the Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz fight, Israel Adesanya's a little bit more quicker and is good with the more of a head movement. Alex Pereira, you can't really be too confident. Like, he's there to be hit for sure, and that's kind of a worry here, especially if he's worried about the takedowns. You can definitely see Jan Blachowicz coming over the top and hurting Alex Pereira very badly, especially if he's coming off a KO loss about 3 months ago, a very bad KO loss. He is up a division, so it's going to be a little bit more power. But I think Alex Pereira will be ready for the takedowns. Maybe you can see him like hit a flying knee. I think Jan Blachowicz is there to get hit very early on, and you could see him get caught in like certain situations, especially early on in the Izzy fight. Because remember, this is a 3-round fight, and early on in that first round of the Izzy fight, I noticed he would get caught in certain situations where it was like more of he would just get caught going into the pocket a little bit more, and Izzy was able to close the distance really well. I think Pereira has some chances to land that left hook, that really good left hook that he has on him. If Jan Blachowicz attempts to take down very early, I think that would be pretty good for him. But I think if the more he stays on the feet with Alex Pereira, I think it's going to be more of a worry that he could get KO'd. Alex Pereira, I think, will chew up the leg of Jan Blachowicz, and I think that timer will start to be ticking in Jan Blachowicz's head, and he's going to start looking for some takedowns because those leg kicks are just brutal. He was out. Think about this. No one really out leg kicks Israel Adesanya unless you're Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira destroyed his legs in the first fight and destroyed his legs in the second fight. It was kind of on his way. Like you saw Israel Adesanya get really affected in that second fight before Alex Pereira got KO'd in that matchup. So Alex Pereira, a really good leg kicker, hides it really well. I think he can do a lot of damage there. I think he can kind of work off of his jab and land the left hook. He isn't the most technical fighter. He's not going to be the fastest fighter either, but luckily he's up a division here, and he doesn't have to worry about that. And an older Jan Blachowicz, who might be carrying injuries at this point in his career at 40 years of age, I guess luckily this isn't a title fight, which a lot of people were wanting at 5 rounds, but I think the style that Jan Blachowicz and that the people want Jan Blachowicz to use for the win against Alex Pereira will not be beneficial for him. I guess you can kind of argue that Alex Pereira working off of the takedowns that Jan Blachowicz will be trying to get, maybe trying to tire him a little bit more. But Alex Pereira cutting a lot of weight to 185 is different from him cutting weight to 205. It's going to be an easier weight cut. You're not going to see him tire out as much. And I think the power will definitely be pretty big there. And I think he was fighting at 205 at kickboxing. So he's used to that division. He's used to bigger gloves, and he definitely has the power to do good in this division. And I think he can just catch Jan Blachowicz at a certain point, destroy the legs. I think he gets taken down at some point. I think you will see an Alex Pereira kind of back up to the fence. I don't see a Jan Blachowicz like picking up Alex Pereira and like slamming him down to the ground. I can just see Alex Pereira getting taken down, but moving towards the fence, working his way up like you've seen him do against the Izzy fight. I guess he never worked his way up. He just was just so heavy. He looked super tired just because of the weight cut. That's how much a weight cut can really do. It makes you a little bit more chinny and makes you a little bit more tired in some of these fights. So that's why I think it was a big impact on him in that 185 matchup, and just at 185 in general is that weight cut. And I think the weight cut is definitely going to open up some things here. He's going to be a little bit more on the feet. Maybe he'll be a little bit more quicker. Like I kind of want to know what the speed will look like at 205 here, because the 205 guys, I won't say are a little bit slower, but I think there may be a little bit of a speed difference, especially between Israel Adesanya, because those were the last 2 fights we saw with Alex Pereira. So I think Alex Pereira defends the takedown, not necessarily like stuffs it immediately, but I think he'll probably look for a flying knee, maybe miss, and then he'll get pushed against the fence. I think he'll work his way up. He'll eventually get his way up, and I think Jan Blachowicz will be super tired. Like, I don't think he's going to be extremely gassed, but you're definitely going to see like him huffing and puffing. It's going to be like, okay, he defended the takedown. You'll start to see some of the stuff turning in Jan Blachowicz's head, where it's like he's going to start freaking out a little bit more. And I can just see Alex Pereira landing some really good shots on him and finishing him by TKO in the late first round. That's what I have Alex Pereira winning by. Tapology, I think this is probably about 50-50 fight. And honestly, I think that's probably about right. The way I'm describing it maybe doesn't sound like it's a 50-50 fight, but I think for sure it is. He will have a 2-inch reach advantage here. I kind of want to know, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think they're similar in weight. Alex Pereira, I think, will be a little bit taller. Obviously, will have a little bit more of a reach advantage. Honestly, I just see him tearing up the legs of Jan Blachowicz. Because of that, I see Jan Blachowicz taking him down. And probably not the most precise takedown he can get, because I think Pereira will be ready. Pereira will be able to defend the takedowns, or at least work his way up from the takedown against the fence. And I think Pereira, with an already kind of tired out Jan Blachowicz a little bit more, will be able to catch Jan Blachowicz coming inside, maybe looking for a leg kick or something, and basically hurting him and then finishing him by TKO on the ground. So that's what I have this matchup. Let me know what you guys think about this matchup. I think a lot of people are going to be taking Jan Blachowicz again. It is a 50-50 matchup on Tapology. I just feel like Pereira is just going to be it's weird saying he's a younger guy because 36 years old, but this is a 40-year-old Jan Blachowicz. He has looked pretty good. He doesn't seem like he's aged too badly, especially you've seen a Glover Teixeira become champion at 40 years old at light heavyweight. So it's not necessarily out of the realm of possibility that Jan Blachowicz could win this, but I just see Alex Pereira just chewing him up. Just the power, I don't want to say being a little bit too much for Jan Blachowicz, but the technical power of Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira can definitely get caught here. Alex Pereira does get caught with his hands down. I'm hoping he doesn't make the same mistake that he made against Israel Adesanya, just putting his hands down and just throwing like a maniac, which got him KO'd. I think he finishes out Jan Blachowicz in this one. That's what I have in this matchup. Let me know what you guys think about it down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.